Supercomputers.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt with Zuper Computers, aka Zuperman, and today we got a very special video.
It's really super special.
We've got a full build video with our friend Nolan, aka Wally or Wall3. I don't really know which one he goes by. Nolan was looking for someone to help him build his first gaming PC for around the $600 to $800 price range, and we got him taken care of with a phenomenal PC for about $760. Now that was just for the tower. Nolan did decide afterward that he also wanted to pick up a 1440p monitor as well as a mechanical keyboard, which I did have in stock. So we sold him that for $135 for the monitor and the keyboard, and I think that's a really good price for both of those items as well. Now, I'm not a huge fan of pre-builds.
Holy crap, some of them pre-built
And anybody that I know that's ever built a custom PC themselves also feels the same way. Most pre-built systems out there come with their own proprietary connectors and motherboards and stuff that you really can't do a lot with if you try to upgrade. Like maybe you can upgrade the RAM, maybe you can upgrade the CPU, but if you want to continue to use that case or if you want to continue to use that power supply or some of the other stuff that would really save you a lot of money in the future when you go to upgrade, you can't use it. You gotta upgrade all of these extra components or just buy a whole new computer. Probably what they're hoping for is from them.
They wanna rip you off, they wanna rip you off again. They wanna rip you off, they wanna rip you off again.
And one of the ones that really irritates me right now is this one from iBuyPower. I'll show it on the screen here. I mean, look at this. It's $949, right? It comes with a Ryzen 5 3600, which is a pretty decent gaming CPU. We're going to skip the next one here, but it's got 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, a 240 gigabyte SSD, an RGB lighting case, and Windows 10, and woo, it comes also with a 64 gigabyte flash drive. The problem that I have with this PC is the GT 732 gigabyte. You're paying almost $1,000 for a PC, and you're getting a GT 732 gigabyte. That card is not going to play you anything that's in the latest title lineup. I mean, even within the last 2 years, it's going to struggle. And so, yeah, I just have a huge problem with that. How are you selling this as a gaming PC for that price? So this is the kind of thing that really kind of that kind of thing really kind of sets me off a little bit.
I'm super pissed off, but I'm also passive aggressive.
But earlier this month, we picked up an HP Omen 25L case with RGB lighting, a B450 motherboard, a 500-watt Cooler Master power supply, and an AMD cooler, all for just $50. Plus, the case itself and the motherboard had its own little built-in Wi-Fi adapter card. So you take all of those things in consideration. I mean, the motherboard alone, like a low-tier B450 motherboard, is going to cost you usually at least $50 by itself. Maybe you can find one used for about that price. Obviously, there's some drawbacks to getting this case, and I knew it when I purchased it from the person. I actually got two of them, and it's because the motherboard has a 4-pin power connector. Most motherboards nowadays have an 8-pin power connector. The power supply itself, even though it is a Cooler Master 500-watt power supply, does appear to be mostly proprietary to that case. Now, I think that it can also be used in another case very easily. I didn't see any special connectors on it or anything like that. It didn't seem like it had a lot more than what the case was already offering, which was expansion for 2 different hard drives, possibly another fan in the case if you wanted to put it in there, and that was about it. And then the motherboard is really where the limitations start to occur. The motherboard has 2 RAM slots, 1 PCI slot for a graphics card, and that's it, you know. And then obviously then it has the AMD CPU. So, and because it's a B450 motherboard, if you wanted to go up to like a Ryzen 5000 series, you'd have to do a BIOS update. And it does appear like on HP's website that they do have a BIOS update for that. So, I proposed this to Nolan. He sounded really excited about it. And especially for the price, right? You get all of those things for just $50, and I just passed along that savings directly to him. And so we ended up scoring him a GTX 1070 for about $325, an AMD Ryzen 3 3100 CPU for just $100, when most of the time even used right now they're about $130 to $150. A 480 gigabyte SSD, a 1 terabyte hard drive, and 16 gigabytes of DDR4 2400 megahertz Corsair Vengeance RAM. And all of this priced out, I was able to get the whole build down to about that $760 price range.
Holy, that's a really good deal. Holy, that's a really good deal. Holy moly.
I also ended up selling him one of our 1440p HP monitors. It's not high refresh rate, but it is a 1440p monitor. It was almost brand new, as well as a really decent mechanical RGB keyboard. It was like a Falcon, I don't know, some kind of Chinese keyboard, but it was actually pretty good value for, and I sold it to him for just $10. So all in all, the whole build with all of that came in at just under $900. So again, you look at that iBuyPower. I mean, we almost matched it spec for spec, except we blew it out of the water with the graphics card and the RAM. I have no idea what type of RAM they were using in that iBuyPower, and then also they don't even list the power supply. You have no idea what power supply you're getting with that. So for the price to performance ratio, honestly, this is probably the best value PC that I personally have ever built, and that's even in a really crazy GPU market. If the market would have been normal, that GTX 1070 could have been a GTX 1080 or even maybe a 1080 Ti. Who knows? You know, I'm not really sure how far down those cards got when the 20 and the 30 series started releasing. But again, you know, in this market, to come under $1,000 with all of that setup, he's going to be able to play the games that he wants to play. And one of those games was Escape from Tarkov, if anybody's familiar with it. You're probably going to see me streaming it here pretty soon because they just did a full wipe if you're following the game. It's a really hardcore first-person shooter. It's really fun, but it's also really intense. So yeah, but that's the game that he was trying to play with his friends. And so yeah, without further ado, we're going to go right into this build video. I'm going to speed up some parts. I'm going to probably also cut out just some sections where him and I were just talking. His dad wanted him to learn as much as he could about PC building and kind of going through that process. And yeah, it was a really fun build, a really fun day, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
What are we gonna?
All right.
What are we gonna start with?
Well, so there's a couple things that we can start with. So normally, you know, so we kind of have an advantage because the hardest part was already done for us,
Which is the motherboard.
which is the motherboard and the power supply. Most of the times, depending on the case, I like to do the power supply sometimes first and get the cables kind of organized how I think that they're going to be. This one, I mean, honestly, just kind of way with the cases, I'd probably put the motherboard in first. There is a way to actually take off the back panel to get to a lot of the
Case.
wire
Wire
management, and there's if you want to look, there's a screw right there.
Yep, right down there.
If you take that screw off, then you can actually take the back
Like,
panel
it's
off. Yeah. But yeah, so we have an advantage. All of that's in there. I'll quickly kind of show you what all of this stuff is.
This is where this RAM goes. That's the CPU,
Yep.
right?
RAM, CPU, graphics card. So if you want, you can if you push this down and pull it out just a tad, and then it should pop up. Push it kind of down and out. Yep, and I'll lift it all the way up. And so the Ryzen CPU has a marking on one of the edges.
It's a little triangle, right?
Well, it's a little. This one I think is a little dot.
Yep.
And if we look on the motherboard, there's a little triangle right there. It's kind of hard to see, but so that
Yep, I see
should
it.
fit right like so. Now it should just fall right into place.
Yep.
If it doesn't, or you feel like you have to force it ever, it's not going in, or it's not going in the right way.
Yep.
So go ahead and pull that down and latch it into place.
Just keep.
Yep. Yep. And so is that? Yep, that's good. That CPU is in there. Put thermal paste on. There's like there's the X method. There's the line or the cross method. I usually just do like a dot right there about the size of a pea. Ryzen CPUs are a little bit bigger, so I do like to kind of do on Ryzen's like an X.
Yeah.
But you'll notice this cooler actually is pretty circular. So I think that having like a pea size probably right there will be good. And this is non-conductive thermal paste, so if we get too much on there and we need to wipe it off, it's not a big deal.
More.
A tad bit more. Yep, that's good. And so that might overflow a little bit,
Yeah.
which is totally fine,
It's
especially
just-
with
yeah.
non-conductive. So to put RAM in, so first on the motherboard, some motherboards only have one side locking, where the other side's just static, but this one just push them both out. They only go in one way. So go ahead and try to fit it in there in one slot. And if it doesn't go in, that means that it just needs to be flipped around. And you can kind of look at it sideways to see where that little notch is. Yep, and then just push both sides down until it clicks. There you go. Down too.
RGB strips are not expensive.
Move that over. I'll shift this over here.
This just.
Yep. So kind of line it up, and then those two little front prongs are going to go on the outside of the motherboard.
Does that work in here?
Yep, that should be good.
Can you just click it down?
Yep. And I don't think that it clicks. I'm just going to do it a little bit. There it goes.
There you go.
That's it. So,
Yep.
so this is good.
Should we put it up right or?
You don't have to. Honestly, I think that putting this on, it's gonna attach in the bottom first.
Okay.
So hook it in, and then
feel free to just kind of drop it down. It should click, which it did. And then we can.
Looking pretty sharp here.
Yeah. So that looks pretty cool. I too would like to get a picture of that.
Well, that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me and sticking around this long. If you liked the content, please give it a like, hit the subscribe button, check out my other social media links in the description below, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care and stay Zuper.
The Super Computer.